Hello everyone, and welcome to Art Droid 29 Productions. My name is Tom, and I'll be your narrator today. This is part 2 of What If Deku Became Swamp Thing. With introductions out of the way, let us begin this story. The group of Island staff consisting of scientists and security guards stood in shock upon seeing what events were playing before their very eyes. The plant matter which had taken a humanoid shape stood screaming in agony. They didn't know where it had come from or why it was here, but one thing was certain. It couldn't have been human. The hell is that thing? I don't know, just shoot it! Don't! You'll risk damaging the facility!
Where am I? Who are you people?
Hold it right there, buddy. Not one move.
Don't shoot!
The monster had made but one step towards the group of men, only to be bombarded by gunfire. Bullet holes littered its entire body, but somehow it only took a few seconds before its wounds had repaired themselves, before he refocused his attention on its attackers.
Why did you do that?
The freak of nature wore a look of anger on its face before it started to march towards the security team. Stay back! The guards aimed their guns at the beast, only enraging him further.
Just let me go!
Damn it, we said stay back!
Get out of my way!
The monster's instincts then took over. He would swing his arm at the group, the limb extending and acting like some kind of whip, throwing the island staff to the side before he walked out of the enclosure. His feet making loud thuds with each step he took. Alarms began ringing throughout the island, only making the monster more paranoid as he blindly navigated his surroundings. Eventually, he had reached the island's surface, where the sun would make him feel somewhat relaxed, despite it hurting his eyes at first. After feeling a sudden headache, he would then attempt to find a way off of the island. But along the way, he had noticed all the different trees and plants that were spread around the environment. Each time he looked upon them, he felt as if he was at peace. It was after standing atop a patch of grass that a team of armed guards had surrounded him. However, instead of fighting back, he held his head as a strange word manifested in his head.
Japan!
The armed guards were in for quite a surprise when they saw the monster they had been chasing suddenly descend into the ground below, leaving it as if it hadn't been there at all. It was like something had pulled him underground. We've lost contact. I repeat, we've lost contact. Back in Japan, a storm had just begun. As people began fleeing the streets to escape the rain, something else had started to emerge. At an old park, a large patch of grass had started shifting, almost as if something had been moving beneath it. Suddenly, a large pair of grassy, green hands had sprung out from beneath the surface, before the monster composed of plant matter re-emerged from below.
What is this place? It feels familiar. The trees, the flowers, I can hear them. They sound beautiful.
The plant-based behemoth looked around and saw old, run-down playground equipment. He marched towards it before gently placing his palm on it. Stop, Kachan! Upon hearing the voice in his mind, the monster held his head in agony.
I've been here before. I used to play here.
Flashing images appeared in his head, showing different people and locations that felt more and more familiar to him as time went on. Repeating what he had done before, the monster descended back into the ground before instantly reappearing elsewhere. In Mustafu, the green behemoth once again emerged from the ground before wandering around the city streets. He knew these streets. He'd been here before. The familiar sounds of cars and the people, they all sounded so horrible. Nothing like the plants and the trees. They were relaxing. They were peaceful. They were green. The more he looked around, the more he noticed how little greenery there was. Deep down, he knew he could do something about it. It was like something was guiding him. Ignoring the oncoming traffic, the monster crossed the road and approached a nearby building before placing his hand on it. What happened next could only be described as a miracle. Roots sprouted from his hands and latched onto the concrete surface, before spreading and covering more and more of the building, before different leaves and flowers began to grow from the roots, leaving the building almost completely swarmed in plant matter. "Stop right there!" Upon turning around, the creature saw a group of patrolling police officers who did not look impressed. "What do you think you're doing?"
I saved them. I gave them life.
Oh god, another nutcase using their quirk without a license.
Quirk?
Sorry, kid. Looks like you're quirkless. Images of what appeared to be a hospital briefly flashed in his mind. God damn it, this guy must be on something. What's your name, buddy?
Name? I don't. Who am I?
Alright, maybe you should come with us. One of the officers had attempted to handcuff the creature, only resulting in it panicking as a result of being grabbed.
Don't touch me!
With one swift movement, all of the officers were knocked to the ground. To make matters worse, some nearby heroes had seen what had happened. "Step aside, everyone. Us pros can handle this. You bad guys sure are becoming a nuisance."
I didn't mean to. I'm not a...
My dream is to become a pro hero one day.
Please, just leave me alone!
The monster's pleas fell on deaf ears as the heroes attacked him simultaneously, making him fall to his knees. For the first time, the creature felt true fear. The fear would soon turn to anger as the monster stood upright before letting out a war cry.
Roar!
Tendrils shot out from his body, each of them landing a direct hit on the heroes that surrounded him, knocking them down for the count. The creature looked around and then saw something that would leave a permanent impact on him. The other people, the bystanders, they were afraid. "Monster! Freak!"
I'm not a...
The sound of thunder caught him off guard, causing him to fall to the ground and into a puddle of rainwater, where he would see his reflection.
Is that me?
For the first time, the monster had seen his terrifying appearance. Everything from its glowing red eyes all the way to the plants that his body was made of.
It can't be. I'm not... no!
More flashes of familiar images and voices began to flood the creature's mind, each of which contained information on what he wanted to know. By the time the bombardment of such details had ended, he stood up, tears streaming down his face before he once again disappeared, this time by grabbing hold of the greenery he manifested onto the building and being sucked into it. He would then re-emerge in a forest, taking shelter under one of the many trees. The environment then began to change around him. Trees not native to the land began to grow. The texture of the mud had changed, with what appeared to be marshes also appearing before him, turning the forest into a swamp.
My name... I remember it now.
The monster looked at his open hand as branches began sprouting from it.
What happened to me?
He then clenched his hand, crushing his creation in the process. Rain began pouring down his face, blending with the tears that began flowing as he fell to the ground and closed his eyes, falling asleep as weeds began to wrap around him and form a protective shell before pulling him beneath the ground, like a coffin descending into an empty grave. Weeks had passed, and what happened had not gone unnoticed to the public. After all, it's not exactly easy to hide a swamp appearing almost entirely out of nowhere. Almost immediately, the entire area had been placed under quarantine. A barbed wire fence surrounded the area. Armed guards were on patrol, making sure no one who wasn't authorized could get in. But the people of Japan had questions, and only one organization could give it to them: the Hero Public Safety Commission. Hundreds of reporters and law enforcement had gathered at the press conference, almost all of them dying to get the scoop of the century. Before all of them, on stage, stood the woman who had the answers, the president of the commission. Thank you all for being here today. Let us get straight to business. The swamp that appeared on the outskirts of Mustafu. As of now, we do not know where it originated from, but we know it's not safe to enter. Any heroes that we have attempted to send in have all been attacked and thrown out of the area before anything of importance could be discovered. They all claimed that the swamp itself had attacked them. Until we can figure out exactly what we are dealing with, the area is completely off limits to the public, unless the Commission says otherwise. Now then, I'm open to any questions you may or may not have. Almost immediately, every reporter had attempted to outshout the other, trying to get their questions answered. Yes, you? Madam President, many of the public believe that the swamp was created by the villain who appeared in Japan a few weeks ago, the one who had coated the entirety of a building in plant life that authorities still haven't been able to get rid of. Does the Commission share the same belief? If you are asking if we think that the man who the press have dubbed the Swamp Thing is involved somehow, I'm afraid we're not able to respond to that. Next question. Whilst the reporters continued to ask their questions, something was happening at the swamp. By the fence surrounding the swamp, a little girl stood crying, whilst a boy of the same age stood behind her. The girl had let go of her balloon, which had ended up getting caught in one of the swamp's trees. I told you not to let go of it. I didn't mean to. Well, it's gone now. I'm out of here. But my balloon! Not my problem. The child buried her head into her hands crying. But when she looked up, she saw what could be described as a miracle.
Don't cry.
The little girl turned to see one of the branches had gently wrapped itself around the string of her balloon, before extending and holding the balloon over the fence, allowing the girl to get hold of it once more. Wow! As she looked at the balloon in awe, roses began to grow by her feet, erasing all her feelings of sadness. After looking at the roses, she looked back up and saw a large shadowy figure standing between the swamp's trees. The only feature that was visible was a pair of glowing red eyes. Thank you! As the girl left with her balloon in hand, the figure emerged from the shadows, revealing himself to be none other than the creature known as Swamp Thing, wearing a somber smile on his noseless face.
Farewell.
This is where we shall have to leave the story for right now. If you enjoyed the episode, please feel free to like and share. It really means a lot to the channel. Also, if you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe so that you can keep up to date with all future uploads. Thank you all, and have a great day.